Alright, so this is a quicker video. I'm going to talk about the difference between one-tail and two-tail tests. So a two-tail test is where we care about both tails. Okay, care about this critical area in both tails. Whereas a one-tail test, we only care about the critical area of one tail. Right? Oftentimes, this is our alpha. Okay, when we say alpha is 0.05, we're really saying, hey, anything lower than 0.05, if we get our p-value down here, if the p-value is anything less than 0.05, we're going to reject it. We call that the critical value. Okay. P-value is slightly different. It's the same thing, though. Don't worry too much about the definitions for this moment. Okay. So, how do we know if it's a one-tail test or a two-tail test? Because over here it looks like we've got two critical values. Over here we just have one critical value. What's going on? How do I know? Okay. And it's all based on what can your alternative hypothesis be? It's all based off the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so you have your null hypothesis, and then you have your alternative hypothesis. With the null hypothesis, let's say that a company is claiming that the sugar in their drinks is 18 grams. So the average is 18 grams. And that's straight up. They're not saying, hey, we're going to give you at least 18 grams of sugar, or we'll give you up to 18 grams of sugar. They're saying it is exactly 18 grams of sugar. You're not getting more, you're not getting less. All right. Well, in this case, what would our alternative hypothesis be? The alternative hypothesis has to be everything that's not 18 grams. So it has to be greater than and less than. How would we say greater than and less than at the same time? Well, it's just not equal to. So mu must be everything else, which is not equal to 18 grams. Okay? That is our alternative hypothesis. So if it can be greater than or less than, you get two tails. You could have a rejection region up here where you're getting an average much higher than 18 grams, or a region much lower, a critical area, much lower than 18 grams, such as 10 grams, or 4 grams, or 0 grams. You probably want to have negative, that'd be kind of cool. Negative calories. You know, you can have a big piece of pizza, or an entire pizza, then you take some magic pill and it's negative calories. That'd be kind of cool. Hey, you can be a millionaire. Think of it. Alright, so that's a two-tail test. With a two-tail test, here's where the trick comes in. We've been talking about alpha. Now, alpha is whatever, 0.05. That is the total critical region. So the critical area here and here have to add up to be 0.05. So when you have a two-tail test, what do each of these have to be? What's going to be half of alpha? So 0.025. So p-value here is actually 0.025. Over here, the p-value, for your critical value, is going to be 0.025. Okay, it's going to be half when you're doing a two-tail test. When you're doing a one-tail test, this whole area has to equal whatever your alpha is. If alpha is 0.05 again, well, this whole area has to be alpha, so it's not like it has to be split between two. In this case, your critical value is still 0.05. Okay? So if it's a two-tail test, there's an extra step you have to take. And it's all based off whatever the alternative hypothesis is. So here an example of when you would have a one-tail test. Let's say our null hypothesis is all students have at least $100. Okay? If that's our null hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis is the opposite direction. It's only one direction. It's only smaller than. Okay? Here, it can be smaller than or greater than. Only smaller or only greater. Two directions. Okay. Try the 2 questions below.